Hi there. I originally wanted to talk about LISK because this is big news and about time we had some answers. Now, if you're anything like me, you love true crime. You see it from a human point of view and you want to understand how and why someone like this exists because it's so far out of our realm of understanding, our thinking, the way we go about our lives. And I think it's really important to look at this from a human point of view. There are some great law tubers and other commentators and news articles on the legal aspects, the search warrants, what they're finding, what we know in terms of how the investigation is going. But there's also some dangerous stuff being bandied about and being allowed to slide in comments, live chat and comments. And I feel it's part of my job with this platform to talk about the human aspect, the behavior, and the people surrounding someone like this monster. Now, I'm going to caveat this innocent until proven guilty. But the way the people around him are being spoken about, I think is something we need to start off with clearing up. This comes from an FBI agent that I saw being interviewed. He's a former FBI agent. I think he's now a lawyer. But he was saying this. As things come out over the next few weeks or months, we'll learn that the family knew and turned a blind eye. You see this all the time. The chances of living in the same house and not noticing burner phones and his interest in explicit child images, that they knew. They knew that he was seeing people outside of the family home. Now, I'm not going to name him. I'm not going to give him any publicity because this is BS. It's BS. It has been proven time and time again that this is completely wrong. It's incredibly rare for the family, friends, co-workers, whoever of this type of killer, this alleged type of killer, would know. They don't. They don't. BTK, Ted Bundy, the Happy Face Killer, Green River Killer, Israel Keys, just to name a few that I made a note of off the top of my head, who had families, who had close associates and quote unquote friends, who had no idea. Children living in the house, no idea. None. These people are masters of masking, of hiding in plain sight. Now, we've heard that phrase being used, and yet this guy says they knew. It would not surprise me at all if his family had not one iota of a clue. If you listen to BTK's daughter, and she has spoken about this just so eloquently, same with the Happy Face Killer's daughter. They've both spoken out about this and said, we didn't know. We had no clue. There was nothing there that pointed to someone we knew, we loved, that we were genetically tied to being this kind of monster. And that kind of rhetoric from this FBI agent and what's being said in live chat and comments on other videos of, how did they not know? And this anger towards the family, as if the family are at fault here. Let's not forget, this guy, no matter what his brain makeup is, made choices. He made choices. His family are not responsible for that. His parents and loved ones are not responsible for his choices. And this kind of rhetoric re-traumatizes the family, re-victimizes the family, because they are as much of a victim as the families of the people that were taken. And I will go to bat on that one. These people were as much victims because they now have to live with the guilt that would come naturally but also from society. And this kind of comment, especially on the news, um, they should have known. And this is Monday morning quarterbacking, right? This is looking at everything we know now, all of the evidence that is coming out, what is in the search warrants. It is really easy for us to go, well, there's loads of stuff there. Why didn't they know? This guy had a vault in his basement. That's how they didn't know. Psychopaths are incredibly adept at pretending to be like everyone else. They know they're different. So they learn how to mimic emotions the way we feel them. They don't feel them that way at all. They are capable of some form of love, but they're not capable of acting and reacting the way we do when we don't have the same brain as them. We literally don't have the same brain as them. We've seen this in medical studies. Their brains are formed differently. There are physical differences. So that's my first point. My second point is this. I know plenty of people with multiple phones. That doesn't make them serial killers. That doesn't make them someone that I should be wary of. I know people that have a personal phone and a work phone. They also often go to rural areas, especially here in the UK, where signal is awful. So they have a third phone or a secondary phone that works better in those areas. I had a work phone and a personal phone. And depending on where I was using those phones, I'd have to use a different, one or other of the phones. That seems completely reasonable. I know people that have a phone that is cheap and cheerful that they use when they go and play airsoft or whatever, because if it gets broken, that's not a problem. I know people that have a phone that is always charged, but is never on or never seems to be on because it's there in case of an emergency, when they go hiking, when they go camping, when they go hunting or fishing, because that means they've always got access to an emergency call out when, if God forbid, something goes wrong. I also know people that have phones purely for voicemail here on YouTube. Having multiple phones does not indicate anything. And that's if his family knew that he had other burner phones. This guy had a vault where he was hiding all sorts of stuff. So he would only take a phone if he was going to use that to taunt a family member. Otherwise, it's in his vault for personal enjoyment as a souvenir, a trophy. And a phone is really easy to slip into your briefcase, your pocket, your coat pocket, wherever, and your family not see it. Those things are not connected in any way. Most people with illegal thoughts, who have the presence of mind, who are intelligent enough to know that these are not only illegal, but very taboo. You don't mention these things to anyone, will keep that secret. This guy was highly intelligent. We know that from his business. So if he is, in fact, LISK, he's not going to share those proclivities with his family, especially when you have children in the house or you work with your daughter. Those things will be locked away, partly because they know it's illegal, and their partner, their children aren't going to look very kindly on that. But also, kind of having that secret is part of the thrill. Getting away with it is part of that thrill. Knowing that you know something that other people don't is part of that thrill for these people. Cliches are cliches for a reason. It's because they're true. So this cliche of "they were so nice, I had no idea" is true. We've seen this in many, many cases with killers, and with people that abuse children. You know, it's the guy next door, it's the school janitor. These people who you don't expect. These people who are in the background. You don't notice them, and that's how they get away with it for so long. Um, Monsters know how to hide in plain sight. And again, especially when there are children in the house. Now, his soon to be ex wife is obviously someone who puts her family first, who is very defensive of of her family. And I have very little doubt that she would have left straight away if she had known that he was into illegal images of children, let alone anything else. Um, so let's talk a little bit about this vault, because there is bad reporting on this. The rumors are that it was a soundproof room. Now, I think this phrase was used originally by a police officer or a sheriff. And really, what he meant by that was that it was carpeted, that it was out of the way, that it wasn't directly underneath the house, from what we're learning now, rather than it was soundproofed, like a studio or, whatever else. Now, they're saying, how did his family not know about this, vault? Um, Now, firstly, when his wife was shown certain evidence and asked about it, she was embarrassed, disgusted, shocked, and filed for divorce immediately. So, number one, she didn't know what was in that vault. We've got no evidence to suggest that she knew he had well over 200 guns down there, let alone anything else. Um, it shows me that she has integrity and that she puts her family first, which speaks to my previous point. Um, Now, there are many ways to have that kind of vault without it raising any suspicions. Now, number one, and I think this is really important, um, he he is in his late 50s. He's 59. They've been married for 27 years, which means that he was 32 when they got married. He was already well established in his career. No one is discussing when he bought that house. Did he buy it 10 years before he and his wife got married? It is perfectly reasonable if we go by averages. So, average amount of time for being engaged to when you get married is 2 years. Average time between meeting and getting engaged is 2 years. So 4 years from 32 is 28. He was 28. He was well established in his career. He was successful and already making money. That vault could have been built at any time from him buying the house. So my theory would be that he owned that house and she moved in kind of when they were dating, when they got married, along those lines. So that vault could have been there for donkey's years before she was ever involved. Secondly, he's a duck hunter. It makes complete sense to me, and I know I'm saying this as a Brit, but it would make sense to me that he and his wife would sit down and go, look, we've got kids in the house. How about we build a gun room? We put all of the hunting stuff in there. The kids can't get a hold of it. And it's safe and secure. That would make sense. I know Americans in deep Texas that have gun rooms. And putting it somewhere where the kids can't get a hold of it makes sense. That's a really easy way to explain why you're drawing up plans and you're getting contractors in to build that extension to the basement. Or why you're doing work, you're walling off part of the existing basement. It is really easy to take all of these things and make them completely reasonable as a family to make those choices in terms of the layout, in terms of burner phones and all of this other stuff that is allegedly smoking gun evidence that means that his family should have known. Um, and you've got people talking about the fact that, oh, he must have been controlling, he must have been these things. Must? Israel Keys was not controlling in his relationship. Manipulative, secretive, yes, but he wasn't controlling his girlfriend, you know? Um, Now I plan on doing another video based on what I think we will find out about him as a person. And this feeds into this idea that the family probably didn't know, and why I think he fits a certain pattern, um, you know, from what we know so far. And again, you know, we have seen wrongful convictions, wrongful arrests. So let's wait and see how this pans out. He could be completely innocent, could be someone else in the house. It could be, you know, a family member who has access to all of these things. From what's being said so far, I'm not so sure. But I want to talk about this kind of serial killer, what we know from research, and what we can learn about how we look at this case and other cases like it and the people around him when it comes to having compassion for those who are wrapped up in this through no fault of their own. Um, like I said, this is likely to be a series because it is much bigger than just him or monsters like him. If you get value out of these videos, please hit the like button. Let me know that you're interested in what I'm doing here, but also, comment, let me know your thoughts and what you've been seeing in comments and other things. And I will speak to you again very soon.